Good afternoon, Facebook. I'm Sagar and Jetty. It's Wednesday. That means it's time for Today in Media, where we're going to dissect the 5 most foolish takes that we've seen today. I'm here with my co-host, Julia Nista. We're going to kick it off with Mike Barnicle, who had this to say on MSNBC's Morning Joe today.
They own Washington, D.C. How in the world can he blame Democrats if the government shuts down because he's being petulant with his early morning tweets?
Well, first of all, he has created his own universe, and he believes everything that he says that is a part of his own universe. I mean, this country deserves so much better than what we're witnessing.
Wow. Julia, break that down for me. What did I just witness?
So apparently Mike Barnicle, who's already in a media universe of his own, is saying that Trump has created this universe for himself, mostly in relation, I think it was in relation to his tweets, but really he's just throwing anything in there, whether it's his policy, whatever, his family, Russiagate, whatever. So he's saying that Trump has created this universe of his own, and he believes everything in that universe he's created for himself.
I think what Mike and what the cast over at Morning Joe love to do is they try to create it so that they portray Trump as a mentally unfit man who's like living in his own universe. And, you know, like maybe they're probably building it off the recent New York Times story, but like, I just think that it's disingenuous to go off of this, off anonymously sourced accounts, and to continually to use your program in order to insinuate that the President of the United States is mentally unfit when, you know, these guys have all the problems themselves and their hysteria. I think it's just too much. But we're going to move on. We're going to talk about Juan Williams. And Juan Williams accused the president of attacking people of color, despite the fact that he was attacking Elizabeth Warren. Let's take a look.
I think that he
he thinks.
Well, I'm about to tell you that. Okay, that he finds it just very valuable politically to attack people of color in this country, and he does so, and then says,
like,
"I'm not racist."
Like Paul Ryan. What color is Paul Ryan? What color is Hillary Clinton? What color is Marco Rubio? What color is anybody at Fox News or CNN that he's attacked?
And what I'm saying to you is, he finds political advantage and value in making whipping boys out of people of color. And he, in this
Mitch
case,
McConnell?
In this case, I think he went after her in a way that even Navajo Indians said was insensitive, and they considered it a slur.
Yeah, so when we take a look at this clip, we see that Juan Williams is saying that the president has weaponized attacking people of color, when I think actually he was making fun of Elizabeth Warren for pretending to be a person of color in the first place.
I think so too, and I think this is picking out certain people that Trump has talked about and discussed while completely ignoring others like Nancy Pelosi, like Chuck Schumer, who didn't show up for a meeting with him yesterday, so he called them out on Twitter. I think that this is just very nitpicking, and it's kind of like a racial thing to talk about. Juan Williams is obviously picking out people of race when he is totally overlooking the bigger picture.
I get really annoyed by this because it's not that Trump is attacking people of color. He will just attack anybody who attacks him. He's a petty guy, all right? So, like, if you attack him, he's going to come after you, regardless of your race or your creed. So, in any way, I think that makes him the ultimate anti-racist. But maybe that tells you something about his character. But we'll move on to The Hill. And so, The Hill seriously misquoted Joe Scarborough in a segment, and that you should have the tweet up in front of you. This is the most egregious thing that I have seen yet from them. And their Twitter is just full of absolute BS. What they love to do is they love to go into their articles and you know, very disingenuously quote tweet something in order to get the maximum amount of retweets and quote tweets as something that's outrageous, when if you read the copy, that's not what it says at all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's look at 2 things that they got completely wrong in this tweet. The first one is that they said that Scarborough was reading Bill Kristol's tweet. That's not true. It was Mika Brzezinski. And the second thing is that they said that Scarborough thought Trump was bringing out his inner liberal, but that's not what happened. It was Bill Kristol's tweet tweeting that maybe someone was bringing out his inner liberal, and that certainly wasn't what Scarborough was claiming. He even tweeted later saying, no, I didn't say that, and The Hill was wrong. So these things The Hill is just getting wrong, blatantly wrong, so that people will click onto their articles, look into the article, and see, hey, wait, that's actually not what happened.
Coming up, Bill Kristol bared his soul in a single tweet, writing the GOP tax bills bringing out my inner socialist.
Oh, my goodness.
The sex scandal is bringing out my inner feminist.
My.
Donald Trump and Roy Moore are bringing out my inner liberal. What is happening?
This is like a scene out of Poltergeist.
The outspoken columnist joins us next.
Stranger things when we return.
Yeah, what I actually love is that they like to call us clickbait trash at the Daily Caller News Foundation and then our colleagues over at the Daily Caller, when in reality, I'm like, they're the ones who have propagated this crap time and time again on Twitter. You have even mainstream media outlets just being like, seriously, guys? And now, it's my turn to be like, come on, guys. Step your game up here. But let's move on. We're going to talk a little bit about Stephen Smith of ESPN's claim that black athletes making money is actually a burden upon them. So let's take a look at the video.
If we're being honest, the black athlete has it pretty rough. Not just in spite of the money, but actually because of it. With money comes expectations to do right, to be right, regardless of the scrutiny or adversity one faces, which is why Kevin Durant was absolutely correct and righteous when alluding to his privileged relationship with the viewing public, while making sure to lament the fact that it wouldn't exist for him or anyone black were it not for riches and fame.
All right. Do you guys agree that making money is a burden? I have no idea where Stephen is even coming from here.
I think this is a burden that I would love to carry on my shoulders. Please. I'll take that burden from you. If you're earning millions of dollars as some kind of athlete, and I would love that burden. Let's switch places. How about that? It's fine. I'll take the heat for you. But really, this is an insane claim to make that because someone has this amount of money, that they're being wealthy and prosperous, that all of a sudden the only thing that makes them a problem, or the only problem that they have with society, is because of their color. That doesn't make any sense. We've gone from the idea of, because you're a certain color and you're a certain race, you're not making any money, and therefore you have that kind of burden to, because you're of a certain race, now you're making all of this money and you have a burden in that end. So
yeah, I think it was just a foolish point, not well executed, but apparently that's par for the course for him. And then we're finally gonna go to my favorite segment today, and that is the New York Times editorial page has decided to pretty much forego any sort of actual journalistic rigor and has turned into an advocacy organization. That is quite literally the only way that we can put this. They changed their bio to say that they are taking over in order to whip up its own audience and make phone calls to United States senators to defeat a tax bill. I think this is an egregious violation of journalistic ethics. Yes, I understand what the opinion page is. But when you have an op-ed, which is a single person's byline, or even something signed by the editors, it's very, very different than listing a phone number and saying call and do something. That sort of call to action completely crosses the line from newspaper to super PAC. They can thank Citizens United for their speech, which they so, vigorously decried in that editorial page, and I am absolutely disgusted with this behavior.
Look, this was a piece written by the editorial board. It's not like it came from some random person who has a specific kind of thing that they do in their life, like their business owner or whatever.
They didn't even link to an op-ed, which they had written. If they had linked to that, maybe we could have passed it. They still should be criticized.
But it was from the editorial board. It was the editorial board alone, which is a reflection of New York Times as a whole. And so that is what the real breach here of journalistic ethics is. And then they posted, it was Claire McCaskill and then the two senators from Arizona, Jeff Flake and John McCain, and they said, call your senators and tell them to vote this way. That is advocacy to, influence.
Advocacy is fine. Even if it's the editors who are signing an editorial and you have a story which is backed up by facts, this is absolute crap.
But to use their audience like this.
To use their Twitter account like this is incredibly egregious. I think the GOP actually had one of the better comebacks, which was a quote tweet of the New York Times, and it said, call the New York Times if you think that they're a liberal political organization that we've always said they are. But thank you guys so much for joining us. That is Today in Media, the 5 most foolish takes. I'm Sagar Ajeti with my co-host Julia Nista, and we'll be back on Friday.